Members of the panel, it's an honor to be invited to speak before you at this hearing. Thank you very much. The diversity of viewpoints included here demonstrates your commitment to a strong partnership between the United States and Rwanda. No topic is closer to my heart, Mr. Chairman. My name is Willis Shalita, and I'm a proud American, but also a very proud Rwandan. But at one time, Mr. Chairman, I had no country. In the early 60s, hundreds of my fellow Rwandans were expelled from our homeland. I lived in exile in Uganda up until Idi Amin's reign of terror made me a refugee for the second time. Mr. Chairman, I've lived under a dictatorship. I know how it feels. I know what to look for. I'm here to tell you today, Rwanda is not a dictatorship. 42 years ago, America welcomed me into this country. I found a home, and also my vocation as a special investigator for the State Bar of California. My job was to separate fact from fiction, build a strong case, and testify under oath about my findings. I did so hundreds of times, Mr. Chairman, over my 28-year career as an officer of the court. Today, I work primarily as a writer with a focus on Rwanda. After the genocide, 1 million Rwandans lay dead. No one had any real idea how to render justice to survivors and perpetrators, much less how to live together again. 21 years later, Mr. Chairman, the country stands out. Rwanda leads the world in women's representation in parliament. Mr. Chairman, things don't happen where there are no conducive conditions. Rwanda ranks #1 among low-income countries in the World Bank's annual Doing Business Index. Professor Paul Farmer of Harvard Medical School found that the Rwandan health system, and I quote, achieved some of the steepest declines in premature mortality ever documented anywhere, end of quote. Funding from the United States played an important role. As has been said, Rwanda is the 5th largest troop contributor to UN peacekeeping missions. Religious freedom is protected in Rwanda. An attempt to criminalize homosexuality was defeated in Rwanda. Rwanda is socially conservative, but gays and lesbians need not worry about government interference in private matters. Now, Mr. Chairman, at this point you may be thinking, yes, but why does there have to be a but? The facts are real. The data comes from trusted independent sources. Is Rwanda perfect? Not even close. But the best way to uncover its flaws is go to Rwanda, where the most scandalous data about the country is made public by its own institutions. Go attend a citizen outreach meeting and tell me if you think Rwandans are too intimidated to tell truth to power. I say not. So why do we often find ourselves adrift in this strange Bermuda Triangle of confusion when it comes to Rwanda? To prepare for this hearing, Mr. Chairman, I put my investigator hat back on. How is it that individuals who once proudly contributed to Rwanda's success now calmly assert that the country is some kind of tropical North Korea? Mr. Chairman, the answer is simple. In fact, simpler than I thought. Money and politics. The House lobbying database records that my fellow witness, Dr. Himbara, hired a top-tier firm in 2014, paying them $190,000. If he can afford that sum on his own, then I want whatever consulting gigs he has. And Mr. Chairman, if the money isn't his, then this committee deserves to know the source of this money. Democracy in Rwanda, now, DIRN, registered its domain. This is his outfit. They registered their domain a week ago, around the same time this hearing was announced. Was something wrong with whatever affiliations were being used before? This committee needs to know. I note that Mr. Higiro here is a senior cadre of the Rwanda National Congress, a foreign political party whose leaders seek the violent overthrow of the Rwanda government. And they even collaborate with the FDLR, a genocidal terrorist organization. Mr. Chairman, people have a right to seek influence, provided they follow the rules. But until we know who foots the bill and why, there is no way to assess the credibility of claims made by this shadowy network. Maybe I'm naive, Mr. Chairman, but my experience is that truth is more or less free for the picking. But if you want people to believe lies, well, that's going to cost you. References have been made about trials or fake trials and imprisonments of Rwandans. Mr. Chairman, I'm here to tell you that trials in Rwanda are open. There has been confidence expressed in the Rwandan judicial system by countries like the US, Canada, Norway, Denmark, who have extradited people who had bloody hands during the genocide against Tutsi. Mr. Chairman, this malicious campaign damages the strong bilateral relationship between Rwanda and America. But we must not let cynicism prevail over common sense and core human value that my beloved two countries share in equal strength and measure. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'll submit a longer presentation for the record. Thank you, sir.